We are live.
All right. So good evening, everyone. This is a call to order for the Personnel and Contracts Committee of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Today is Tuesday, March 28th, 2023, and the time is 6:30. I do notice that our meeting minutes are not added to the agenda, so we're not going to be able to approve them because they're not added, Mr. Lombard. But I wanted to say thank you to our board members that are attending tonight, and our committee members, Mr. Joseph Lombard, and to all the staff that are participating tonight. So we'll get started, and we'll just have to approve meeting minutes at next meeting. The first item is presentation by Board of Education department directors and supervisors on their functions within the district. This item was brought to my attention by Ms. Cashmere, and I believe Ms. Perrin and her staff worked out a few different departments that will present today, a little bit on the detail side of what they do. We didn't do the entire roster, but we did a few. So for those that are here, I'm not going to call your names out. I'll just, whatever department wants to go, you guys can go ahead and go. So I'll turn it over to the department heads.
How you guys doing this evening?
Good evening.
So George Garcia, Director of Building Operations and Facilities. I'm going to give you an overview of what it is that we do, a little bit of how we do it, and some of the things that we're encountering, some challenges, some wins. So quick bio of the department and what it is that we manage. We manage 41 properties, a little bit shy of 4 million square feet, give or take 300 acres of property for the Board of Education. We do that with a staff of 190, right around 150 custodians, 8 admin, 19 trades, 7 logistics. Our functions are broken up into a few different groups. One is our administrative staff. Our administrative staff right now is focusing on energy conservation, making sure that we're expeditiously and expending our ESSER dollars in a way where we're getting a good return on our investment and really getting the district to where it needs to be in terms of maintenance and replacement of items throughout the buildings, whether it's HVAC, removal of asbestos, renovations of all sorts. Right now, we're about halfway expended through our ESSER funding. We're going to request some time on our next facilities committee meeting to discuss some major items that we'd like to discuss in terms of how we move forward with ESSER expenditures. There's some large projects that we'd like to discuss, and then some of the maintenance programs that we would like to discuss also at that time during facilities. Next is our logistics staff. The logistics team is made up of about 8 members when they're all full staff. We've got a couple folks on compensation, but our logistics team does all the mail district-wide, moves from school to school. They handle landscaping and any exterior work of the buildings. They also handle deliveries of supplies. The team is a valued team for facilities as they've got a diverse amount of work that they do on a daily basis. That group is led by Paul Washington, longtime employee of the city of Bridgeport, started in the books department. Great leader and a great team. And then followed by our trade staff. Our trade staff is led by Mike Zirkle, and the supervisor is currently Jose Pagan. We did a reorganization of the department at one point. Mike used to be the sole person that was running the trades department. We made a shift because we saw that we wanted to get ahead of rate increases with utilities, and Mike is a savant when it comes to energy conservation. So we brought in Jose to supervise the day-to-day activities, the work orders, the work delegated to the trade staff, review of that work, communication with principals at the school level. And Mike oversees that at a high level, but he is completely invested on the HVAC side of things. We've taken that over together as a unified front because it's a very large world with a lot of moving pieces. But Mike's main role now is really focusing in on energy conservation and making sure that we're leaving no stone unturned We've had a lighting upgrade program that we've worked out through our MOU with UI. Our goal is to get 30 schools done by the end of next year. We're well on our way. I think we're up to like 16, 17 schools completed. The brilliance of LED is the schools are brighter. It helps with the learning environment. Subsequent to LED programs, we're looking at solar in schools where we're replacing rooftops. We're currently working with UConn and our grants department for a large Department of Energy grant. It could be up to $15 million for the district. We've got a good approach, and UConn has and UI have invested $20,000 to help with some audits done at both Marin and Johnson. And we're looking at the smart school model. So, we may take a grouping of schools and turn those into smart schools where we're actually able to see every aspect of their environment, whether it's lighting, HVAC, indoor air quality, energy, what have you. So we're working on that now with UConn. We should have our documents and all of our required paperwork into the DOE mid-April. So we're well on our way. We've met two times this week, and we've got several partners on that. But we're also looking at battery storage when it comes to energy conservation, because that's the wave of the future. We try to stay on the bleeding edge. We're not going over the bleeding edge, but we realize that we've got to stay 2 steps ahead in order to sort of pad the fall of that fiscal cliff. In terms of our custodial staff, dedicated folks that are working in the field. As every school district is struggling with staffing, so are we. We need 170 custodians to really cover every shift and every schedule throughout the district. Our total staffing right now is 157. But the good thing is that through dedication, investment, and in training, we feel that we're getting to a point where we're stabilizing the district. We brought in some tools to help us manage, because what a short administrative staff, it's important to be able to see what's going on in the field, but do that in a way where that those details and that information is coming to us. So one of the things that we've done, and we're into our 7th week now, is we've got an app now for the custodians. We're digitizing the department, and that app, they do a daily inspection of their schools. By 8:30 in the morning, my team is able to see all of the scores of every school in the district. So if there's a deficiency as the head custodian goes and does his inspections, we're able to see those things. There's notes attached. They can attach pictures. It gives us a better perspective on what's going on. And instead of running around town, going from school to school, now we can focus our resources. So that helps us to really apply the resources where they're needed and make sure that the folks that need the help are getting that help. That department is led by Alan Portzell. So we've got one gentleman that's overseeing the custodial ranks, and he's doing a phenomenal job of getting out there and making sure that things are getting done in the field. Let's see what else we got here. We also play a crucial role in school construction. We work closely with the city school construction department, ensuring that the Board of Ed is getting what they need in the buildings that we're building. In Bassick, for instance, at one point, because we signed a deal for the thermal loop, they talked about pulling out the boilers. But from our perspective and our professional insight, we felt that pulling those boilers was risky. So we're able to make sure that that stayed in the program. At one point, there were 37 colors for Bassick. We've reduced that down because the maintenance of trying to keep things like that up is very difficult. So, we play a crucial role in making sure that, whether it's program space, design, infrastructure, that, the city's getting and the board is getting exactly what they need when it comes to these buildings. The good thing is that, we're well on our way in school construction. We're finalizing the $1 billion school construction program with Bassick, with the new Bassick coming online soon. And, we have a good understanding of what works and what doesn't. So the schools, as we build them, are getting better and better. And, we build at a very high level, which is LEED certified, leadership in engineering and environmental design. We've got several gold buildings. I think Bassick is trending towards silver. So, we hold ourselves and we hold others to a very high standard. That's a quick synopsis of what we do. We handle all of the the COVID PPE. You know, we firmly believe in investing in our staff and training and certification. All of our head custodians have been certified in SIMS, which is the highest level of certification in the Janssen industry. The only other organization that has all of their lead people certified in the Northeast is Yale. So we're in good company when it comes to that. We've had all of our custodians did online training this summer, and we're going to continue that next summer as a refresher. And then we're going to be doing in-services to ensure that folks really get a good grasp of what's going on in the industry. And we also have reinstituted our safety committee, and I believe we're into our 10th meeting at this point. And the good news is that, you know, some of the efforts that we're putting forth with training and investment in our staff is that our numbers for compensation are at record lows. So kudos to the folks out there working safe, and to the team for really investing in dedicating themselves. Any questions?
So what I'm going to do is, thank you, George, Mr. Garcia. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold all questions so at least everyone has an opportunity to present. And then board members, if you have questions, just jot them down depending on what the department is, and then you can ask that question. Because I know that each of you guys have different reports that you want to share, but this way it'll move just a little bit quicker so everyone will get a chance to ask their questions towards the end. Thank you, Garcia. I guess, Ms. Carly, I see you unmuted yourself. Go ahead.
Yes, sure. So Lynn and I are here to talk about our departments and the Office of Student Support. We put together a quick presentation. We promise we'll keep it brief, but we just wanted to make sure we had a comprehensive overview of what our departments do. And so can you all see my screen? Okay. All right, so myself, Director of School Counseling and Parent Partnerships, and Lynn Stevens is the Coordinator of Family and Community Engagement. So student and family and community engagement. So we work out of the Office of Student Support. I oversee the school counseling department, the district student success team. I currently serve as the District 504 coordinator and the attendance liaison for the Connecticut State Department of Education. And Lynn will talk about her role as the coordinator of family and community engagement. So the Office of Student Support, where I work out of, formerly known as the Office of Student Choice. So we provide registration support. Parents come to fill out the controlled transfers, homeschooling applications, work collaboratively with data management around the lottery programs. When SVA dissolved, we absorbed the volunteers. We currently have 300 volunteers in the schools. We also coordinate the read aloud days in collaboration with our community partners. We work collaboratively with our mentors through Big Brother, Big Sisters, and Max, as well as CREBE with 130 tutors in our schools. And we plan and coordinate our community resource events. And I'm sure some of you have attended them before. The school counseling department. So school counselors, we have 50 school counselors in our Bridgeport Public Schools. School counselors are certified licensed educators who work to improve student success for all students by implementing a comprehensive school counseling program. And so these are some primary roles of a school counselor. We work with the MTSS and SRBI. That is the program in which students are referred when they are struggling academically, social, emotionally, or with their attendance. We implement developmental lessons in the classrooms, crisis response, referrals to community partners, student success plans, review data to support student achievement, of course, counseling, college counseling, individual counseling, and school counselors are the 504 case managers in all of their buildings. And a 504 is for a student with a disability. Student Success Days. Last year, we implemented Student Success Days. These are coordinated by the school counselor in each of the schools. These are on the half days. There are 8 student success days. This is just a snip of what that would look like by grade level and the activity that the students would participate in on these days. We noticed that attendance declined on half days, so we tried to be creative and develop an opportunity, an experience for students on these half days to motivate them to come to school, to kind of put academics slightly to the side and be able to focus on their personal college career growth. And they do this on a platform called Zello. And students from grade 6 through 12 have access to Zello, and that's where they participate in these activities to support, again, their college, career, and individual personal growth. This is also the platform where they document their student success plans, which is an academic, a college career, and a social emotional goal that they set for themselves every year. And this is a state requirement for them to do from grade 6 through 12. I serve as the District 504 coordinator. I think that's really important for parents to be aware of. So that is to ensure compliance with all procedures and procedural safeguards required under Section 504 for students. And so I oversee the school counselors to make sure and that I'm working with school counselors to prevent discrimination against students based on a disability. And we use a platform called CT SEDS to determine eligibility for a student under a 504 plan, and then have an annual 504 review for all students who qualify for the plan. School counselors have a very important role in attendance, as you all know. So out of my department, I am the district liaison for attendance. So running monthly reports for attendance. Our district is required to have a district attendance team. So that district attendance team meets monthly to review data, and we report out quarterly to the Connecticut State Department of Education. After those district attendance team meetings, we also try to identify bright spots within our district as well as best practices, and those are shared out through a monthly district communication to all administrators. And Lynn and I we both attend state attendance meetings to learn about what's working in other districts and try to bring that to the Bridgeport Public School System. We also have a district student success team. This is 5 counselors and 1 social worker, and this team works across the district to help counselors with larger caseloads when students need a higher level of intervention. And so they work to make referrals to community-based agencies, to build meaningful relationships with those students and families, to try to determine appropriate interventions and evaluate and progress monitor the success of those interventions, and hopefully eventually transition those students and families back to their school counselor. So they offer a level of support that can be a little bit more individualized when specific students are identified. And the coordinator family and community engagement, I'll turn it over to Lynn.
Thanks, Carly. And I have to toot Carly's horn first, because she mentioned that we attend the district attendance teams meetings, but she's actually often asked to speak because of the great work she's done around gathering and evaluating data here in the district. So not only does she attend, but she often participates as a presenter as well. So as Carly mentioned, my role is coordinator of family and community engagement. And you will see that it's very closely aligned with the work of the school counseling department, which is why it falls under that purview. A new position to the district as of last year, hired very specifically for the important role of overseeing the social emotional learning program here in the district, which includes restorative practices. In addition, I also oversee, in collaboration with Carly, our learner engagement and attendance program, and of course, as my title suggests, family and community engagement. So one of the important roles that I have in the district is overseeing our social emotional learning program. Under that, I work with 140 district staff members who are SEL team members. There's 4 staff members at school, at each school. And their goal really is to promote a culture of social emotional learning and growth at their school. Also, a very important part of their role is to be able to share district level initiatives around SEL, and conversely, to share what's happening at their school. So they're a direct through line of social emotional learning, a two-way communication, I should say. I also oversee the SEL platforms that we have. We have our pre-K through 8 Move This World program, Ruler, which is pre-K through 12, as many of you know about Ruler, and Newsela, which is new to the district this year, which is in grades 9 through 12. And Newsela, I know we've talked a lot about Move This World, and how Move This World is a online platform that provides 3 to 5 minute videos for our younger students to interact and learn SEL competencies. Newsela was specifically an ask by high school staff members to provide a delivery system for higher level students. So it provides articles around SEL. There's thousands of articles held by grade level within Newsela. I also oversee Sandy Hook Promise, which is a very important initiative that educates and empowers our youth to prevent violence in schools. All of our 9th through 12th grade students, 6th through 12th grade students this year took part in the final training of Sandy Hook Promise called Say Something, which provided them an opportunity to see signs of somebody who is at risk of hurting themselves or possibly hurting somebody else, and to tell a trusted adult. It was a very impactful presentation that students and student ambassadors at schools will now carry on and sustain what they've learned and relay it to their other students at their school. On the note of SEL ambassadors, we've trained over 150 SEL ambassadors. Similar to the SEL teams, these SEL ambassadors are the ones that help to relay a message of social emotional learning with the students within their school. They are trained in school climate and trained in restorative practices, and they engage in district level activities to learn more about social emotional learning, and again, relay it to the students at their school. I also oversee the district level activities, including SEL Day. We just participated in International SEL Day, and there's a link here. I won't share it now, but there's an SEL video that's fun to watch. And we are in the process of coordinating a staff wellness day because we received so much feedback from staff about what a fun day SEL Day was for students and staff, and how they'd love to engage in more activities that promoted engagement and relationship development. I also oversee our Panorama SEL surveys that are distributed to students, staff, and families. Carly and I use that information along with other district members to better understand the needs of our different stakeholders, and also to inform us on the initiatives within the district. And then lastly, I collaborate with our SEL community partners. And this is just an example of the SEL community partners that we have been working with over the course of this year. As I mentioned, with the SEL teams, I relay district level information to them. So this is a message that I share regularly with our schools to ensure that they know they have access to these resources to engage their staff, their students, and their family members in different types of workshops and trainings. As I mentioned, restorative practices is something that I also oversee. We currently have 18 restorative practices facilitators within the district, representing 14 of our schools. We have an opportunity to engage monthly, share best practices, and also to discuss next steps within the district around restorative practices. Additionally, we provide district-wide support for staff members within the district. I help to coordinate ongoing training sessions for staff and students and families, one of which we actually have tomorrow, a district-wide PD for our staff members around restorative practices, and then to provide ongoing support with school-based implementation and interventions. So at any time, an administrator or a staff member can reach out to me and say, hey, we have something happening at the school that we really could use some support on, I can engage one of our advanced trained restorative staff members across the district, or we can engage with our collaborative partners over at RIASAP to help facilitate an intervention. This just gives a little bit of information around what our restorative practices facilitators do within the district. I won't go into too much detail, but as you can see, here are 14 schools that have restorative practices facilitators. A lot of what they do, in fact, 80% of what they do, we hope is relationship building. The hope is that only 20% will be reactive and responsive because of incidents that occur. That's the ideal. That's what we reach for. So that's kind of the premise of restorative practices. I mentioned our LEAP Home Visitor Program. We currently have 46 LEAP Home Visitors that represent 24 of our Bridgeport schools. LEAP Home Visitors engage in monthly meetings, and they also engage on Microsoft Teams to share information and communicate with one another when they need support regarding a home visit, or maybe a specific family that they're working with and they need to identify resources. As many of you have heard about LEAP, one of the most important parts is that we get to engage with our students and families. But additionally, what's been really important about LEAP is that we also are able to gain information about attendance within Bridgeport Public Schools. What are some of the key barriers that families are facing? And additionally, what kinds of strategies can we put in place to address these barriers? So as an outcome from LEAP, we've developed a family resource guide that home visitors use regularly and is shared across the district. It's an ongoing form that is we add community agencies to, and then we also take agencies off as we find that they're no longer in existence or perhaps useful to our families. We've developed a school uniform site, our community closet, where home visitors or other staff members can sign up to pick up a uniform for a student. And we're also in conversation about developing a walking school bus, piloting a walking school bus for those students that have identified transportation as an area of challenge in getting to school. And then at the bottom of this presentation, which we can share out, there's a nice video that the state developed around LEAP that's definitely worthwhile to watch. This is just a picture of our community closet. It's not as full as it looks in these pictures, but it's definitely been a great resource for our staff members to pick up uniforms for students and families. And then lastly, a very big part of my role is engaging directly with our families through supporting them with PACT PTSO. Also our family resource guide, which I mentioned in a previous slide. We've hosted social emotional learning workshops and programs, and I'm currently in the process of developing a parent handbook in collaboration with our parents to be able to share important district level information with our families. And I also spend a lot of time communicating with our community agencies to be able to provide important resources to our families and our staff members around what these community agencies have in existence for families and staff members. I also communicate closely with RIASAP and our community schools program. As I mentioned, they have restorative practices facilitators at 6 of our schools. So I work on a monthly basis to collaborate with RIASAP around our restorative practices, social emotional learning, and school climate. I often describe to people that I am a bit of a connector because people give me a lot of information, and I'm able to direct people to that information. So my role has developed into somewhat of a connector to be able to engage different stakeholders within the district. And then this is just a little bit about what Carly and I both do around parent involvement. This is the support that we provide parents ongoing. We have a PACT PTSO team. We also have a distribution email that we are able to email parents directly when we have information that we'd like to share. We host monthly roundtables with our superintendent. As I mentioned, we have one tomorrow evening. And then we help up one-on-one with budget support and reaching out to parent leaders to identify any areas that we can support them with. And this is just an example of our flyers that we send out for the PAC PTSO roundtables. I like to point out that we now have, you can see there's a pattern in a few of these. We now have one flyer that we use that was developed by one of our parents, because she was very frank with us and explained that she didn't think our flyer really did a good job of reaching out to parents the most effective way it could. So she helped us to develop it, and I actually just, I love receiving this parent feedback, because it's so important to help us understand what the needs of parents are. So I just sent out actually another email today, and she sent it back. She replied and said, I think this could be tweaked a little bit. If you said this way, it might help parents understand it better. So again, that as part of my role, that's what I need to hear, is the parent feedback about how we can improve that engagement for parents. And that's it.
Thank you so much, ladies. Is there another department that is sharing? I'm not sure if Ms. Dixon, are you sharing, or are you just sharing on? Oh, you are sharing?
Sorry, allergies. Yes, I was asked to share, though I'm a little hesitant after Carly Lynn's little slideshow.
The floor is yours.
All right. Hi, hello, everyone. As you all know, I'm going to present on the Human Resources Department. So currently, the Human Resources is responsible for both non-certified and certified staff in the Board of Education. That makes up about 3,000 employees. Tim McNamara, the Assistant Director of Human Resources, is the point person for the non-certified staff, the custodians, the cafeteria aides, the security guards, paraprofessionals, and then I oversee the certified staff, such as the teachers, the administrators, social workers, guidance counselors, SLPs, and everything. So obviously, HR, one of our biggest responsibilities is the recruiting and hiring of new staff. Hopefully, starting, I believe, April 3rd, you should see our new billboards that are going up, advertising 2 upcoming job fairs. We have a job fair scheduled April 27th, 4 to 7 p.m. And then we have one scheduled Saturday, June 3rd, 11 to 3. Both will be held at Central. The bulletin boards, we tried getting pictures of our teachers up on it as well, but they said the pixels were too big or too small, and so we did settle on, we have the new logo. We also then put in our link to direct everyone to the main website for applying for our open vacancies. Hopefully this will help us at least get some more word out there about our upcoming job fairs. We are also leaning more heavily on social media. Tim Grasty is great with posting and on the school's websites or social media platforms, Parent Square. And then I know a lot of us end up taking some of the flyers and posting it on our own personal social media platforms. I do have a LinkedIn account for Human Resources. So at this point, we are sitting with about 100 vacancies. That's not including our teachers who are not certified, who have perhaps the pending certifications. There are about 50 of those, and hopefully the administrators are deciding who are they going to hire back. So we're working with the administrators to figure out which teachers who have yet to gain certification will be rehired for next year. So, but as I indicated, we have about 100 vacancies. I know today some of the 3 members of the Board of Ed went to the job fair at UConn, and they indicated that they met a lot of music candidates and some other candidates. Unfortunately, no math or science. But, one of the things, and as you've all heard us discuss, is another tactic to increase our teachers to fill the shortage areas is the cross endorsement. So we have the cross endorsements going on right now for languages, the special education, math, and science. So those are proceeding. I know math and science, they've started their training to assist their the teachers with getting taking the praxis exam coming up. So hopefully that will help us fill some of our shortage areas in these hard to fill topics. Other than that, we work with Labor Relations and the Personnel Committee on the city side for certain non-certified positions. Some are civil service positions, so we have to follow their process and their procedure as well. But we continue to post for those. We are trying to help George Garcia fill his vacancies. I know everyone is feeling a shortage in finding people to work in their departments. So other than the basic hiring, we have a set process for the hiring and then the onboarding process for candidates. We recently, at the end of last school year, we first created a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. That committee again commenced again this fall, and we actually recently attended training at CES to improve on our recruiting and hiring of teachers of color. So it was an amazing few days of training, and we came away with a lot of good ideas. And this group is continuing to work together to develop ways to not only recruit teachers of color, but to retain our current teachers of color. So we have a lot of ideas being worked on. We are working on creating an interview committee that will meet and do interviews hopefully every couple of times a month. And we want to do interviews after hours for candidates who may be working during the day. So to get those candidates in, we do have some people who work and can't make the usual school hour interview times. This committee is also working on a set questions that will be asked pretty much across the board. I did review these questions with the superintendent. She gave me great feedback on some of the questions, and we're hoping that will help streamline the process as well. This interview committee, we are also working on a training for them to help us be aware of our subconscious or implicit biases, to help us when we get these questions, how to adequately or properly calibrate the answers we receive, and when we do the scoring. So we are more open-minded, and this is geared towards recruiting and hiring qualified teachers of color. Other than the hiring process, HR is also, we handle the discipline process of the certified and non-certified staff. Again, as you know, the non-certified staff is governed by the City of Bridgeport's contracts. Excuse me for a minute. I have animals in this room and it's getting a little noisy, so I apologize. But so we work with the Office of Labor Relations when we deal with the discipline of non-certified staff. We work with gathering information, and then the Office of Labor Relations conducts hearings and investigations for certain disciplinary actions. As far as the certified staff, usually the first round of disciplines are held by the department heads or the building administrators. They usually, as progressive discipline, they handle the initial meetings with a certified staff member. They may do a verbal warning, a written warning. When those are not successful and behavior continues, then HR will step in and become involved, where we may issue the more severe forms of discipline, such as a formal written letter of reprimand, suspension without pay, or termination. So we try to make sure that we are doing progressive discipline across the board for every employee, as set forth by most of the contracts and the City of Bridgeport's work rules. As there is something called egregious acts. There are certain incidents that we can bypass progressive discipline and issue a more severe form of discipline rather than issuing a simple verbal warning. I require that when it comes to the HR, that the administrative supervisor, that they provide to me all written documentation, emails, letters, and notes regarding their involvement with the certified staff. This way, if it goes further and we have to suspend without pay or terminate, we have the documents before us, and that we have the evidence or the facts to support taking such a severe act of discipline. Finally, another thing my office is responsible is for the Title IX investigations. I am the Title IX coordinator for the district. Title IX is the sexual harassment or discrimination of students or staff. And there are Title IX officers at each school, at least one at each school. And a lot of times they may conduct initial investigations in conjunction with speaking with me. There are times where I will have to conduct an investigation. That's when there's a formal hearing, everything again is documented. On our website, it shows you the steps we have to take, the forms that have to be filled out, the record keeping that needs to be done. And everyone, we get training on that every year. So we do try to make sure that is being followed. I usually turn to one of the executive directors to be a decision maker if I conduct an investigation and hearing. Also, HR is responsible for being one of the witnesses for the Board of Education on any CHRO or other legal actions. Bircham and Moses, they handle majority of our legal actions. The city attorney does handle some of the CHROs as well. But again, it's usually myself testifying at one point or another, or Tim McNamara testifying. We assist Bircham and Moses in gathering any necessary documents and evidence. We work as the liaison between Bircham and Moses and any of the staff that need to testify as well. Now I'm drawing a blank about what else we do. We are also working on trying again, as I've said to you all numerous times, hiring is one thing. It's the retention that we need to start focusing on as well. And that is a big thing that my office is trying to do, is to focus on the retention of our staffs. We've been focusing on doing exit interviews, retention interviews, as for those who have been here for a while. We are now going to start interviewing teachers or certified staff who wish to transfer schools. So we are trying to gather as much information as to why things work or don't work, or how we can improve to retain our teachers. What can we do to help them out? And my office, Stephen Correa and Michael Brosnan are the ones who are heading up the retention interviews and everything like that. We are trying to create a data and to be able to present that to everyone to help them, or to give guiding points on how to address some of the issues or concerns that come up. Finally, as the summer is approaching, we will be entering the BEA negotiations. So that means Marlene, myself, and I believe it'll probably be Floyd Dugas from Bertram Moses will be participating in the contract negotiation. Tim McNamara sits in on the non-certified contract negotiations as well. And I think that's HR in a nutshell, depending on what fire pops up on any given day.
Thank you so much. I don't know. I think Ms. Siegel, I don't know if Ms. Siegel is presenting, but I know we do have a few items, but is this everyone that is presenting before we move forward? Okay, so I'll leave you alone, Ms. Siegel, sorry. All right, so now I will open up the floor for questions. I'm gonna start with Ms. Cashmere because this was her item that she wanted to bring forth to the board. So Ms. Cashmere, I'm assuming you had a list of questions for each department. Not sure if they look the same for all of them, but feel free to ask your questions to the departments.
I'm sorry, for some reason my camera works funny in Teams and it's not working today. I actually don't have a list of questions. I just wanted to comment and say thank you very much for these presentations. I think that in the light of the Board of Ed looking for full transparency with everything, I think it's very refreshing and a smart idea to refer parents right back to this video. And, for parents who have no clue what the function is of the Board of Ed, because the teachers in the schools are absolutely important. Don't get me wrong, but the system and the way that it functions, I think it would be very refreshing for parents and the community in general. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. It's so appreciated, and I'm looking forward to more of these presentations as we go along. So thank you very much for everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Benahan, I see your hand.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. Like you said, I'm trying to catch from the beginning from George, like you said, trying to get all a question. George, still here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, how you doing, Mr. Garcia? Simple question. You said you need to have 170 custodian, and so far you have 157?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to, clear that. I know we're going to bring more. We're going to get more information in the facility meeting. I don't have no questions for you because I trust you and I know you do an amazing job in our district, and I really appreciate your report. Very, I appreciate that. Ms. Rocha, you said, and you're talking about the school council. How many report you received from the school council and from the school, your school council, they give a report or how many, or what school have much report they give it to you?
So I meet monthly with my department, but they contact me, when things arise. We review a lot of reports with the school counseling department. We review attendance reports. We review academic reports. When a student is failing classes or multiple classes, the school counselor will arrange parent meetings to bring the family in and discuss. We also have what I was referring to as the SRBI. So we review those reports when students are referred to this team. So we see how many students are on SRBI for each school, so we can help provide that layer of support through the student success team. And then we review academic data. So we review our PSAT and our SAT scores to try to identify ways that we can continue to support the students. And I think the last thing that report that we look at is our community-based referrals and our LEAP referrals. So how many students we're referring out to our community-based organizations and how many students we're referring for home visits. Those are all reports that we look at as a department.
But right now you don't have a number, like how many report, your school council will give it to you?
I don't have a number of how many reports, no. Each school counselor maintains their own reporting system, and that gets, those reports get reported directly out to the administrators in the buildings. But then I just provide supervision and support at the district level.
Thank you. The other question for you, Ms. Rocha, is you said that you got 5 counselor and 1 social work for the district, for the district student social team. That's gonna be that's they run the whole district.
Yes. So unfortunately, some of our school counselors have very large caseloads. For example, at Blackham, at Caesar Battaglia, there's one school counselor for all of those students. And so this team supports those schools that have really large caseloads. And to provide an extra layer when students need more support than the school feels like they can offer. So if I'm the counselor at a school and I have, a group of students that really need more support than I feel like, if I feel like I've exhausted my resources within the school, I can look to this team to case manage those students and provide outside community-based referrals and progress monitor and meet with that family. And because it is time consuming for a school counselor and it pulls them out of the classroom a lot. And so this team kind of works across the district. Another really great function of this team, since they do work across the district, is they can find what's working in some schools and help replicate it in another school. So they have a really nice district lens of what's happening in different schools.
Have to be a very tough and very busy, job. But as I know we're short, hope we can have more, but they have to be very busy and very tough.
They are very busy.
Thank you, Ms. Rocha. I'm going to Ms. Lynn now. Ms. Lynn, you talk about just want to know is SEL, how many staff there are?
How many staff members that participate on the SEL team?
Yeah.
So there's currently 138 SEL team members. So anywhere from 3 to 4 at each school. Of course, they have other roles within the district. They have certified positions as either a school counselor, a social worker, or a teacher, but they also serve as the SEL team members to facilitate activities at their school.
Okay. Thank you. I know you're talking about the program. I really correct me if I'm wrong. The way I said, Newsela.
Newsela.
Yeah, it's not that program. It's part of for the special needs students.
It's for all students. Yeah, and the wonderful thing about Newsela is that you can pick the grade level. You can cater it to the academic needs of the student. And a staff member, let's say they wanted to talk about empathy, they could type in empathy and do a search for empathy for, let's say, grade. They can even go down to lower grade levels. If let's say they had an 8th grader that maybe was reading at a 6th grade level, they could type in empathy 6th grade and pull up all articles related to empathy and do a whole class lesson on that.
Okay, thank you. And do you have parents that volunteer, help you with the program? With the program you're running, do you have volunteer? And also, I know you said a survey, but how many research survey you receive back?
I just sent out the survey today, so I will let you know. But we are distributing it via electronic resources, but we're also having hard copies of the survey. We've had it translated into Spanish as well. So that was sent out through our parent leaders, but administrators will also receive that. I have a QR code in the link, and again, the hard copy will be given to administrators as well.
Do you have parents volunteer help you with the program?
Are you referring to the parent handbook?
No, yeah.
Yeah, so I do have a few parent volunteers that would like to participate. I believe there's about 4 currently, but I will be doing more recruiting tomorrow at our parent roundtable at Harding High School. Good.
And I see you say something, and I see you in your presentation about LGBT.
Yes.
And I see that, and that's very important. And
yes.
Because I know a lot of kids, a lot of students, I don't want to, they scared to talk about the situation. And I know in other schools, they're very open and they're very welcome, and they got programs and they have so many things. What Bridgeport School have to support all these kids? I see you having a presentation, but I would like to help work with that situation, because I know kids sometimes they cannot speak with the parents, but they can speak with somebody else and let them know, listen, the door's open for you 100%. We're here for you. So I just want to know what we can do to help all these students in this situation.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question because I agree with you 100% that it's such an important topic that we embed into our conversation at all schools. I will say that Triangle Community Center does a wonderful presentation. I've seen them present to staff, to students. They presented to our school counselors as well, and they are willing to present to parents. They provide a very non-intimidating, wonderful overview, and just to have a welcoming way of engaging parents and staff members in conversation. So I think that they are great partners to engage in the process and help walk us through it for sure.
And I know you see the school uniform. I appreciate that, and that's great to have that. I know we have the it's gonna be the new PTSO president. Pastrana High School. She's working. She's doing. I know. I believe she spoke to you, Miss Sylvia. She's trying to collect more uniform for our kids when we start back.
That would be wonderful. What I would like to do is find a way to replenish our supply and keep it available for families. Now that we have this community closet that we can maintain, I would love to continuously fill it with uniforms. We're currently low in small sizes. We have a lot of small children who need uniforms.
And also, I know we working is not easy, but sometimes they don't give it to you, Ms. Rocha and Ms. Lynn, information. But need to update the PAC and PTSO district-wide because I really know we had new leaders, and some of them, they are not part of the school, and they still send you the same information that we don't have. We don't have that. I just want to let you know. Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Ms. Dixon, what will you, Ms. Dixon? You say about the bulletin board. How much is it going to cost the bulletin board to have the information out?
The bulletin boards are costing us $38,977.
Sorry,
and change.
Can you repeat that?
I believe it came out to $38,977 and change.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's 4 bulletin boards. They will run between April and into June. One starts, I believe, in May.
April now for 2023 now?
Say that again?
You say April now, 2023 to June 2023?
Yes.
And that, I don't know if you can ask me that question. And that money is coming from where?
I think it was part of ESSER funds.
ARP ESSER.
Thank you, Marlene. I was just going to say Marlene.
Thank you, Ms. Sig. I appreciate that. And you said how many vacancies we have so far? 160 or 170, you said?
No. So we have true vacancies about 100. We have approximately 50 quasi vacancies because they are teachers who are not formally certified. So we can rehire them for next year, but that's why I call them quasi vacancies.
Okay. And your departments are doing promote, they are sending information out to hire more staff or people certified?
Are we doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right. Okay. So we continuously to put out our job vacancies. We've been posting on different platforms. We've been attending a lot more job fairs, and we have our 2 job fairs coming up.
All right, thank you, Ms. Dixon. No more questions, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for everyone.
Thank you. I do see some hands raised, but before I go to them, just want to make sure, Mr. Sokolovic, Mr. Lombard, are you guys okay? Do you want to add anything before I go to the hands?
I can wait. I have questions.
No questions for me.
All right. So, Ms. Cashmere, I saw you first. Go right ahead.
I stand corrected, Ms. Brown. I'm sorry, I did have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, 2 quick things. The first presenter, I'm sorry, I was in my car on my way home, but what is the name of his department?
Building operations and facilities.
Building operations and facilities. All right, I was taking notes. That's the only part that I didn't get. Okay, thank you. This question is for the student support department. have you seen an increase or a decrease or neither with the Department of Children and Families referrals district-wide? I was just wondering.
That's a very good question. And I wouldn't have that data readily available, so I wouldn't feel comfortable making an assumption one way or the other. Dr. Young actually is our district liaison for who works collaboratively with DCF. I think that is something that we can definitely look into and provide you with some data around referrals.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Kashmir. Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Good evening. My first set of questions is for Human Resources. Some of the questions were answered. Where are the location of the billboards, since there's going to be 4?
The billboards are going to be on Route 9, on 95 and Route 8. So I know there's an electronic billboard that's exit 27A by the arena, and the others I believe are on Route 8. There's one will be on 95 in the Stratford area.
Okay, thank you. Then my next question was for the delegations of, I guess, legal representation when we have a CHRO complaint come in. How's it split between the city of Bertram with who's going to represent us?
Honestly, I have no idea. I think, actually, I believe the city tends to handle more of the non-certified CHROs. Since the city of Bridgeport owns the collective bargaining agreements with the non-certified staff, the city attorneys usually oversee those. And then Bertram and Moses oversees the certified staff.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I want to just pivot back to the billboard question. So we're going to have two of our billboards. You're talking about 27A. I know that one because I see those billboards all the time. There's one when you're going southbound and one when you're going northbound. Both digital billboards we're going to have with our advertisement.
We're going to have one. I'm actually trying to pull up the email that has the actual locations of all the billboards. We will have only one of those.
And then I'm going to assume it's much more expensive because I guess it's a live billboard with the digital billboards versus a traditional.
Yes, it was more expensive. I actually wanted to stay away from the digital because I kind of like the old-fashioned one because that's it. It's our billboard. It doesn't change. It's not on a rotation. But the billboard I originally wanted was rented, so he offered this one, which was equivalent in price and viewings. When I looked at all the different billboards, the information he provided was the average viewings per, I forgot if it was per day. So I tried to pick ones that had the highest viewings.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried to pick ones, I didn't want to have them too close together. So I was trying to figure out location wise. And then I wanted to try to get them a little out of Bridgeport. So originally there was supposed to be one in more in Fairfield, but that's the one that was rented. And that's why I opted for the one in Stratford.
Okay. In general, with the billboards, I think that's an excellent idea. As someone that commutes on the highway, I see competing districts advertising in our city. So I think it's duly noted that we advertise back in even in a different district.
I totally agree.
I don't think there's an issue with the timing from April to June because I've seen other districts post all year long. So the need to advertise the availability in the district is necessary. I also kind of like the digital billboard. You can easily tunnel vision, ignore the traditional signs, but if something's like a flashing light, it's more likely to grab someone's attention. But that's just my opinion. And those are all the questions I have for Human Resources. So thank you, Ms. Dixon. Then
You're welcome.
my next question is for Student Support Services. I just have a quick question regarding the community closet. I was driving at the time, but is the community closet at one particular location? I didn't get to see the presentation. Is it at multiple locations? And then are shoes provided? And the reason why I'm being very specific with shoes is I've heard, and this may be for a committee, but I've heard stories of students being sent home because they weren't wearing the right sneakers. I even think that came up during a PAC PTSO of students being sent home because they were wearing Uggs to school or something to that extent. And when it comes to uniforms or clothing options being available so a student doesn't have to be sent home, what is inside the closet? And maybe how is the district supporting the closet? Is it just by donations? Is it how is it being done? And I think using this opportunity now to market that, we can probably maybe solicit someone to make donations.
Great questions, and I would love for that to happen. That ultimately, again, now that we have that space, that is absolutely my goal, is to utilize the space to continue and hopefully receive donations. Currently and continuously, the community closet is located at Bridgeport Learning Center. I maintain hours on Monday afternoons from 2 to 4 p.m. so staff members can stop by and pick up uniforms. I've created a Microsoft form. Staff members complete that in advance so we can then track where we see the most needs, not only size, but also with school and grade level as well. So that's kind of the gist of it. In terms of what we supply, we currently have shirts, so we have pants. We have fleece as well, both long and short sleeve shirts and fleece. There have been requests for undergarments. They were not in the budget, but that was noted that there was a request for that. There was also a request by a couple of people for umbrellas for students who walk to school in the rain. We do not supply shoes at this time, but I do recall, Ms. Baptiste, I think that was at one of the PAC PTSO meetings where that question was, or that comment was made about the Uggs as well. But I think I covered everything that's at the closet. We also actually have SEL items there. We have some journals for students and families, along with some SEL coloring books as well, and some mood beater posters. So I would love to find a way to continue to maintain that, and I'm certainly open to any suggestions.
No, thank you for clarifying that. My last question is actually for you, Madam Chair. We only had 3 departments present. Are we going to receive a full list of other departments, or is this the only presentation, and is this going to be presented to the full board?
This is not the only presentation. I mentioned earlier in the meeting that we didn't want to fill the meeting with just these because we also had other items. So Ms. Cashmere and Ms. Perrin, we thought it would be a good idea to break the departments up so that each of them will get an opportunity to share at this meeting. I don't see no problem with adding this to a regular meeting as well. Just making sure that would also need to be planned out so that it doesn't tend to make our meetings long. No disrespect to any of our staff. We appreciate all of your information, but we would have to work something out where we have maybe 2 or 3 a meeting reporting back so that everyone, can feel like they're getting all the information that is presented. kind of like what we did with the fiscal department when Ms. Siegel presented. So kind of that same vibe that we're trying to aim for. But no, not all of them will be on tonight, but going forward, we're going to try and get through as many department heads as possible. So that they all, all board members can hear, and also the community can hear what each department does.
I just want to piggyback off of Christine's comment. I wouldn't have been able to make this meeting if the the charter school meeting was not canceled. So yeah, that's what I had originally requested, is that if these meetings can be moved to our regular board meeting. I understand that we have long agendas, but even if it's just one department, just one at each board meeting, until we can kind of make a dent in it, I think would be very, very helpful. I just wanted to say that.
Like I said, I see no problem with it. I think the initial side of it, and I probably missed that part of the email where the request was for these to be at regular meetings. But I in the interest of time, being that I personally think it should start at the committee level, and then, see how many we can get through here and anything else we could provide at the regular board meeting. That's just my thoughts. But I will, like I said, I will see what Mr. Lombard thinks and any of the other committee members think as well. I mean, any of the board members. All right, Mr. Lombard, I know you had questions.
Thank you. So thank you all for your presentations, and I just have some questions and follow-up regarding what you presented today. A couple things that stuck out in my mind. So I'll go in the order of the presentation. So Mr. Garcia, just wanted to ask you if you would to elaborate a little bit on the Smart Schools initiative. You talked about it briefly. I think I have an idea of what it is, but just so there could be a good understanding of what it would provide, what it would offer, given the financial investment that would require to do so. So that's my first question.
Okay. So the Smart School Initiative is something that we're working towards as we submit for this Department of Energy grant. So the concept behind it is that, as we start to evolve as a school district and our buildings are becoming smarter and we start to recalibrate and get things to work at the level they need to, we like to have more control over these facilities. So pretty much any sensor that's in that building, we'd like to have control over it, whether it's lighting, energy conservation measures, water, HVAC control. Just about everything can be put onto the system, and then we will get alerts, and we can manage the process a lot more succinctly in terms of how we manage our buildings. So for instance, if we see that there's a spike in water, we can start to do a deeper dive to see if there's something that may be broken or a leak somewhere. If we see that there's a spike in energy, that will lead us to take a deeper dive on and see what's going on. And then indoor air quality, we'll get alerts if there's any spikes in any kind of VOCs. So, we see that, as we start to evolve as a district, we need to find tools that help us manage. As we work with less staff, that doesn't mean that we still can't get the same job done.
Okay, you said that you're trying to write a grant for that?
Yes, so we're working along with UConn on that grant currently, and we're also working on a parallel grant with the Department of Energy with the Board of Ed Grants Department, Dara and Joan. Okay,
thank you. And the other thing you talked about the new, what was it, the Health and Safety or the Safety Committee in your department? And just to point out what you may very well know already, that the new Facilities Committee, the Facilities Committee has now merged with the Health and Safety Committee here on the board. So it's all in one on our side. So, okay, thank you. So the next is for Ms. Stevens and Ms. Rocha-Reese. My first question is, could you tell me a little bit more specifically, what is the walking school bus?
Absolutely. So it's essentially where you would have, it can be formatted where you have parents who are walking students to school, or you have staff members that are walking students to school. And they essentially, the staff members or the parents would pair up, and they would go from home to home and pick up students at that home and walk them to the school. And then conversely, they could also walk them home from school.
Okay. And what is the status of that right now? I didn't.
It's currently just up for discussion. Reed School has proposed that they would be willing to pilot it if it was approved. We've been advised, there's actually a website called thewalkingschoolbus.org, and it's extremely comprehensive. It advises that you start very small within a neighborhood, and you identify perhaps a specific day of the week that you would want to use. And they've shown that many schools see a growth in their attendance as more and more families engage in this walking school bus.
Okay, thank you. And my other, I don't know if it's a question or asking for just for some elaboration on the magnitude of SEL activities that happens for the general population, as opposed to only those who are identified, and just your typical identified students. Because most of what I've heard over the years has been about SEL for those who have already been identified having needs. But I'm wondering about how much has it trickled out to just the general population? So
I appreciate that question. It's a great question. No, we see social emotional learning as needed for all students. So the focus really is for all schools, all staff members to be working with students on really what we identify as those 5 CASEL competencies. So the self-awareness, the self-management, the responsible decision-making, and then the social awareness and the relationship skills. Those are essential life skills that students need, that they will need throughout their life, but also many of those skills are needed just to learn. Before you can do math and reading, sorry, all those academic people out there, you need to be socially adjusted and be able to place where you can learn. So it's for all students.
So has there been an uptick in activities for them, or how's it translating?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the uptick really is, again, filtered through our SEL team members at each school. So in addition to the 4 members, many of the schools have larger school-based SEL teams that meet regularly to discuss their SEL activities. So we monitor Move This World usage. There's an expectation that teachers within grades pre-K through 8 will be using Move This World at least 3 times per week within their classroom. We monitor the different types of activities and engagements that students are having within the classroom as well. And we also, we've done some early data, and I'd be happy to present on it in more detail, but our early research indicates that those schools that we've identified as having strong SEL teams, who also have restorative practices facilitators at those schools, have lower levels of chronic absenteeism. So we're seeing a direct correlation between the engagement of students when SEL is happening at that school.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And my last question is for Ms. Alter-Dixon. So I was involved at the committee level before it came to the full board with the cross endorsement process, continuing it from last year and for some subjects for the first time this year. But I'm just going to ask you to discuss a little bit about specifically the one you mentioned with the cross endorsement for special education. And because I think of that as such a very unique, complex area for a teacher to be able to administer, and I'm not saying math and science and language aren't also, but there's so many more things that go into special ed in addition to just only content. So what type of ongoing support is there for those people who are getting endorsed by taking the exam and not by having taken the classes in it?
First of all, let me again apologize for I don't know if it's a cold or allergies, but so I'm a little stuffy. The special ed, it is not, they can't just take an exam. They actually have to go through the train classes. We do CREC. ARC is, I believe ARC is our program that we use for the cross endorsement, and also Southern Connecticut also has a program that we're using where the staff member goes through the classes. So special ed it's not like math and science where you could just sit for an exam. You actually have to have the credits in special education before you could become endorsed in special ed. And it's the same thing with languages. It's not just a simple taking of the test. Not that it's simple, but you do need to actually have coursework and a minimum amount of credits in those areas. So for special ed, it is the first round, it's a 1-year program, and we're still working out the kinks that we saw with the first round of this, where we do need to focus more on ongoing and support from the special ed supervisors, because you're right, it's far beyond just teaching in a classroom. There are so many other components that go into being a successful special ed teacher. So we're still learning, and we've been working a lot more with the special ed department to ensure that going forward, the people who do get the cross endorsement are also receiving the proper support and professional development and ongoing support from us.
Okay, thank you. That's very reassuring. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Sokolovic?
No questions.
All right. I only have a question. Let me just pull it up real quick. My question is for Ms. Dixon. For the job postings and career postings, are those also linked to the libraries, the local libraries? Because I know even in just my own job in New Haven, we utilize the libraries as well for those that are coming in, and that could be for a variety of reasons. But is that something, or is that something we can do if we haven't already started?
I would love that. No, we're not linked up to with the libraries, so that is definitely something I'll have to look into. I think that's a great idea. I mean, we want to get our job postings out anywhere and everywhere, and the more avenues or outlets we can use, the better.
Yes, I definitely think that will be beneficial, because I know a lot of teachers, and I have a few teacher friends in different districts, and they still use the library. I mean, I know internet is everything, but there's nothing better than a hardcover book. So just, putting certain things in different places may be beneficial. And then I lied. I do have a question for, no, it's for you, Ms. Dixon, still. I do appreciate the billboard. That has been, and Ms. Siegel can tell you from the very beginning, that was one thing that we definitely wanted coming out of the branding initiative committee. And then Ms. Carly also, Ms. Carly and Ms. Lynn did a really good job with the attendance campaign, seeing how that is. And just from being in the marketing side of the house, a lot of the billboard companies are going towards digital because they're getting more and more. So you're probably going to see, as much as we want the hardcover ones, they're going to slowly fade out, and everything is going to be digital because it's easier to get more than one in a platform. So I'm glad that we're actually doing that, and I'm excited to see what likes we'll get from it. Not really likes, but likes the analytics we'll get from it, and see where people will have better exposure, because I think the attendance campaign was really, really well done. So shout out to Ms. Lynn and Ms. Carly. So hopefully, it works really well. And I'm looking forward to see what we could do getting recruitment measures out there and getting teachers into our district. But I think that is all that I have. I do see one more hand. I'll go back to Mr. Benahan before we go back to our agenda items, Mr. Benahan. So go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really appreciate that. I'm going to Ms. Lynn, and I'll go with Mr. Lombard said. When you say walking school bus, please correct me if I'm wrong. You said the staff go to home to pick up bring the student on school.
That is what's proposed. that is in discussion. It's not something that has been approved at this point, but it is what is proposed. We currently have LEAP funding, so we could use our LEAP home visitors that are already going to homes to facilitate this activity as a pilot.
Yeah,
to see if
it's a good idea. Of course, we want students, learning, educate, but I'm worried about the staff, about the safety issue, and worry about safety, union, all the stuff. I don't want the staff get hurt. We 2023, good things happen, bad things happen. So I want to be sure, the safety of the staff, worry about that.
Thank you. I agree.
And I have to say this, I cannot shut my mouth, but the bulletin board is like it's going price up, like when you buy a dozen egg in the supermarket, everything is going up, too expensive. I'm still thinking that. I'm still thinking about that. But I had to say, no more questions, no more comments, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, thank you to all the staff members that provided updates, and we'll continue to bring on more so that until we get to the entire list. And just also want to remind everyone that this is also recorded. So I really hope, I know a lot of us do share this. So any parent that may be listening and, you may have missed the meeting, this is also online for you to play back and hear where the committees are and what they do. Not committees, what the department heads do. So I'm really excited. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
No problem. We're going to move further into our committee. Our agenda, I'm sorry. The next is Mr. Pires with either Mr. Pires or Ms. Siegel with an update on the Crisis Management District RFQ. Go ahead, Ms. Siegel.
Yes, good evening to everyone. Mr. Pires, I think you're aware, is away in Portugal on family emergency. The public relations RFP closed on March 16th. There are 6 vendors who submitted responses to the RFP. Mr. Pires sent the evaluation workbook to the 4 members of the evaluation committee, and those members are the superintendent, excuse me, the superintendent, the chief financial officer, myself, the executive director of human resources, and the director of specialized instruction. The due date for return of the evaluation workbook is this Friday, March 31st. And upon the return, we will tally the ratings in one chart and rank the totals. The vendor ranked number 1 will be the selectee, subject to approval, of course, of a contract by the Board of Education and approval of the City Board of Purchasing in accordance with standard operating practice. Next, we will develop a draft contract with the vendor, request review by the city attorney, and bring the draft contract to the contracts committee together with the rating chart. If the contract committee gives approval, then the contract will be presented to the full board for approval. And after the board gives approval, we'll proceed to the City Board of Purchasing. But we will be able to proceed once the City Board of Purchasing approves with the signatures, and then the contract will be in place. If there are public relations tasks that are needed in the current school year and thereafter for the term of the contract. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Siegel, for that update. Really appreciate it. We look forward to hearing, we look forward to seeing the process through committees that needs to go through. So thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item is discussion and possible approval of the MOU agreement with RISAC LEAP program to expand support for the learning in Bridgeport Public School District. I believe this is Ms. Clark. How are you?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. And I just have to clarify, the name of the program is the Learning Engagement and Attendance Program, LEAP, and expanded came in an unfortunate place. So it is just a continuation of the work that we were funded on. In our first year, the contract actually came to us via CES. So those of you sitting on the board might have remembered that we gave a large contract out to RIASAP for this particular work, but it was under another fund source. This is obviously state motivated, but this second year actually came directly from the state. And we are giving an additional amount of money. And so that's why we're bringing this back. The amount that this contract is proposed is for $44,552. The RIASAP team is providing home visiting services and chronic absenteeism services. And so I asked Carly to stay on, and Lynn stayed on as well, because their presentation earlier this afternoon talked a lot about LEAP. They would be able to give you some updates as to what RIASAP has been doing and continue to do while we focused on this really large award we got from the state. Our award was a total of $800,000, and we are doing lots of great work, as you heard, and there's this very smaller contract to RIASAP to help support the work.
Ms. Carly and Ms. Lynn, do you want to add anything else?
Sure. So Lynn directly oversees, but I'll kind of set the stage, and then I think she's still on. So yes, as Ms. Clark shared, we received $800,000 from the Connecticut State Department of Education to continue our LEAP work. And so we are using the majority, pretty much all of that, to conduct these home visits, because we have had an increase in staff that are interested, and we've also seen the benefit of the home visits with the data, and the data that was just released, an evaluation done by the Connecticut State Department of Education. So we know that they work, we know that they're important to build those relationships, and we continue our partnership with RIASAP to utilize some of their staff to support our staff in the home visits, and also to be that connection between the home visits and other community partners and agencies that can provide additional support. Lynn, I'll pass it to you.
It sounds like you pretty much covered it. I apologize. I had to take a quick call from a principal, but we really have had such a strong outpouring from our staff members who are interested in engaging with families, and we've seen that it's very important that staff members be able to represent the specific schools that they're located at, because they have the information about that school. Oftentimes they know the families. So that's been a really important piece of that. So we've even moved away from having perhaps a staff member from another school engage with a family from an alternate school, because it seems to be more effective if the staff members actually exist at that school.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Ms. Clark, is there anything else you want to add?
No, this is a standard boilerplate contract that we've been receiving from legal. So there are no substantial changes. There's obviously a statement of work in there. We would appreciate if you guys would move this to the next steps so we can solidify this continued relationship with RIASAP and complete this really great work, which we've been getting really great accolades from the state on for this LEAP program.
Thank you. Before we do that, I'll open up the floor for any questions or concerns from board members. I'll start with Mr. Lombard. Are there any questions?
No concerns or questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benahan?
Yes, Madam Chair, but I'm not having a question about Ms. Clark said now. I'm going back a little bit, if you don't mind, very fast. Oh my God, sorry. There was so many things at the same time. Oh my God, I'm gonna pass. I just remember. I'll let you know. Sorry, I just forgot.
Okay.
Mr. Sokolovic?
No questions. I just had a big sense of deja vu because it seems like I heard it only yesterday.
Okay. All right. Ms. Baptiste Perez?
No questions.
Ms. Cashmere?
No questions, thank you.
All right, now I'm circle back to you, Mr. Benahan. Has your question come back? Okay, go. No?
Keep
Okay.
going.
Keep going.
Come back. Yeah, I have to think about it. I just forgot. I don't know why.
You're good. I was gonna move to I was gonna move to have Mr. Lombard make a motion, so you're the last one. Okay, I'm assuming that's a no.
No, just forgot. Anything I email you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Mr. Lombard, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I move to move to the full board MOU agreement with RISAP LEAP program to expand support for learning in Bridgeport School District.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Ms. Clark, if you could just provide me the correct language, because we were just going off of what was in the thing. So if you could just give me the correct one, and I'll make sure it's added to the agenda.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Benahan?
Yes, I remember the question now. I thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going back what Ms. Akeisha said when she's talking about each department having every time we have our board education meeting. Do you remember that part?
Yes, but
okay. My little suggestion is I'm not talking. You can agree that later with the other board members. As a student and family, let's say we have each department here, we can bring it to the committee, and then we can do a report, and then we'll bring it to you when we do a board education. So we don't have, like you said, our meetings get longer. Like right now, working with Russia and Ms. Lima, one of my best staff, we can talk about each department, and then I bring it to you to my department, to a board education, a little report. I just suggest that, so we can be on the same page. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. The next item is discussion. Oh, I already read that one. The next one is discussion and possible approval on agreement to provide proposal to develop services to the Bridgeport Public Schools for the development of a proposal submissions to the U.S. Department of Education Magnet School Assistant Program. That was not.
That is a mouthful, and it is correct.
Okay.
So this contract that's being presented, it's by Metis and Associates. The total proposed is $43,637. Metis Associates will work with the district on the development of its MSAP, which is that larger explanation application for this cycle. I just want to be very clear. Fairchild Wheeler was started with a very large grant from this program in 2013 when we received that original award. And so we have been trying for the last couple of years to receive a new award. Unfortunately, we've not been successful. The first time we tried again was in 2016. We had support of the grant writer, who was also the evaluator on the grant, and we were not successful in that 2016. Our grant originally went from 2013 through 2017. We tried again in 2017, writing ourselves with a newer plan. We were rejected, and then we tried during the pandemic. That cycle was expanded in terms of the deadline, and we were also not successful. We actually got really close. We got really good feedback, but we just didn't make it. And so as we're looking at doing lots of additional expansions and having new team members in the district, again, this is something that we've been pursuing for years. What is the way that we ensure that we could get closer to what we felt was that lightning in a bottle in that 2013 year, which is to work with an agency that is well known for getting awards. And unfortunately, our prior grant writer evaluator from 2013, they have since retired and no longer doing this type of work. And Metis was met by Dr. Baldwin, and we interviewed them, and we feel really strongly that they can take our vision and work with the team to get a really good proposal out. We are moving very quickly. We've been aware of these cycles. It's been a long time trying to find the right fit for us. The RFP came out from the federal government, and you would feel that they would have given us lots of time. Unfortunately, they didn't. The application is going to be due May 15th. And so we would like to move very quickly with bringing on Metis so that it can start getting as much information from the district and writing out a really good proposal plan.
Okay, so I'm just going to be very honest. I don't know exactly what you're saying, so
Okay.
like, and maybe it's just me, but just like what will go into this particular work. So I don't know if I'm the only one, but just maybe you did and I just didn't get it. So
Yep.
exactly what will Metas be doing? I guess that's what it is.
They will be writing our entire application. So
Okay.
the proposal is at least 120 something pages long. It's filled of a lot of different content. So it's going to have a narrative section, an abstract section. It's going to have collection of lots and lots of tables. So as you would be aware, for the magnet schools, there's a desegregation plan that needs to go in. We need to collect data, focus on, really having an interesting plan that we are not doing something another magnet school is doing, so that we do make it to final round. So it's really working along those lines. And this group has worked with other, districts and cities. Most recently, I believe they worked with Waterbury and for ACES magnet program. If I just actually saw a commercial on the TV for them, they were successful in the last round. So they have over 20 years of experience of putting together proposals and applications. And they have agreed also to become our evaluator, which is good because then they're working with us on our proposal plan, and then they'll help us on that evaluation part as well. Traditionally, these grants can go up to 5 years, and it's a $15 million proposed. If we do this right and we get what we need, we could get up to $15 million. So looking at the cost for them to work independently. Again, we have tried for several years with the school principals, working with our office to get it together. Federal grants are really large. This is going to the Department of Education. It's very intensive, this particular program. Do we write federal grants in the grants office? 100%. Have we gotten them? 100%. This particular program, it's very specific. I think they look for name recognition. We know that happened in 2013. And we're trying to get to that same bit. And Metis is the associates came to us as a promise group, and we interviewed them and felt that they would be able to get us. Again, nothing is guaranteed, but it's worth us putting our hat in the ring to see what can happen.
Got it. I understand now. I'll open up the floor for questions and comments and concerns. Mr. Lombard.
No, thank you for asking for clarification. I appreciate it.
No problem. Mr. Sokolovic?
Yeah, if you were a betting woman, what would you think the increase in odds were by engaging this firm?
Honestly, I have been on the mantra for the last couple of years, do the opposite of what you've been doing. And as I indicated, we've been trying internally, working with the school, grade principals, assistant principal writing, coming up with plans, doing a lot of legwork. And like I said, we have not been successful. I have really seen that name recognition, particularly for this program, matters. Seeing that, Metis was most recently, awarded for ACES in Waterbury and other communities around this country. I think that, again, there's no guarantee, but this is the opposite of what we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 cycles on our own. So it's, to me, at least worth the effort. So no bets, but
I think I agree. 20% increase, 40% increase.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Benahan, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No question at this moment. No comment. Thank you, Ms. Clark. Always, give you a good report. We very appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Benahan.
Ms. Baptiste Perez?
Well, the first comment I do have to say is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting an outcome. And so the last time we received the grant, you said, was in 2013?
Correct.
So it's been 10 years of not receiving that funding source. So something different. We're probably 5 years too late to implement something different to do it. So whatever's going to increase the odds of potentially receiving the grant. Now, do we know for that particular grant, and you may have just answered that, but it was an oversight on my part, but for that particular grant, have they helped a different school system in Connecticut receive it? Like, did you say Waterbury received the grant?
Yeah,
Working together?
ACES, yes, ACES is located in Waterbury and they just opened a new magnet program and I do not have the name in front of me, although I saw the commercial just the other day. I can get that to you if you're interested, and a list of other awards that they have garnered for this program as well.
Well, then it makes, I mean, we have to make if we get it, it's going to be a huge return on investment. Is that correct?
Oh, 100%, $15 million over 60 months, 100% for $43,000. Yes.
I mean, Ms. Clark doesn't have to be the betting person. We as a board will eventually have to approve this or not.
Correct.
So, obviously, I'm just going to leave my comment there. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Kashmir, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No, thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thank you again, Ms. Clark. I'm going to turn it to see if Mr. Lombard would like to make a motion.
Yes, he would. I mean, I would. I'm going to do my best with this wording. I'm not quite. So I'd like to make a motion to move to the full board for approval, an agreement to provide proposal development services on the Bridgeport Public Schools for the development of a proposal for submission to the U.S. Department of Education's Magnet Schools Assistance Program.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Ms. Clark, if this is the correct language, I won't ask you to change it. So it'll be
Yes.
added to the agenda. There are no other items on our agenda for this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Everyone have a good night. Thank you for the great work.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.